Hi everyone, this is Katie, your favorite fluency coach. Do you know what this is a picture of? It's a sword. Have you ever heard the term double-edged sword? If I call something a double-edged sword, that means it has the potential to hurt you or help you. It can add something positive or it can take that away. Our topic today is pausing, and pausing is a double-edged sword because if you don't know how to pause well when you're speaking, it can lower your fluency. But if you know how to do it well, it will boost it. You'll be easier to understand. You'll be fun to listen to. And you'll feel like speaking is energizing instead of draining your energy. But wait, you might be thinking, that doesn't make sense. How can pausing increase your fluency? Because fluency means you're flowing and it's smooth and you're not stopping. But pausing is stopping. That doesn't make sense. You're right, it doesn't make sense on the surface. But when you understand what pausing actually does when you're speaking, you'll see how pausing can increase your fluency. Let's start off with a quick definition of what a pause is and what a pause is not. Here's my definition. A pause is a short break between ideas that adds clarity. A short break between ideas that adds clarity. A pause is not a hesitation. A hesitation is when you pause because you're uncertain, or maybe you're afraid. You don't know what to say next. It's the opposite of clarity. It's the opposite of adding clarity. But when you use a pause well, you do it on purpose because it adds clarity to what you're saying. Now, let's dig into what pauses actually do to help you. There's 3 things I want to tell you. First, pausing helps synchronize your mind and your mouth. It helps line up what you want to say and what you actually say. If your mind starts racing and you're thinking faster than you can speak, then you're going to be stumbling over your words. On the other hand, if you start speaking faster than you're thinking, things might come out all wrong. We don't want either one of those. So pausing helps you check every few moments when you're speaking. It helps you make sure that you're lining up what you're thinking and what you want to say and how you're actually saying it. Pausing is really helpful. And when you align those 2 things, you will sound and feel fluent. The second thing that pausing does is that it's actually kind to your listeners. It's helpful to your listeners. I'm going to give you a little demonstration so you can hear what I'm talking about. First, I'll give you a sentence with no pauses. Then, I'm going to say the same sentence with pauses. Imagine you just came up to me and you said, "Hey Katie, what are you doing later?" My answer would be, with no pauses, "I'm going to the movies after dinner with my friends." I'm going to the movies after dinner with my friends. If I add some pauses in, it would sound like this. I'm going to the movies after dinner with my friends. I'm going to the movies after dinner with my friends. The second version sounds more conversational. It sounds more relaxed and friendly. The first version with no pauses sounded like I was rushing, like I didn't even have time to talk to you. The pauses also break that 10-word sentence into 3 pieces. So instead of throwing 10 words at your brain that your brain has to understand and process, I'm giving you 3 bite-sized chunks. I'm going to the movies after dinner with my friends. Not, I'm going to the movies after dinner with my friends. Do you hear how the second version with pauses is much easier to understand? And it cuts down the work that your brain has to do. I don't have to process 10 things, I just have to process 3 chunks. We actually do the same thing with numbers all of the time. If I give you a phone number to remember, 123-456-5432. I chunk or I group those numbers into chunks so that they're easier for you to remember. This works in spoken English just like it does with numbers. So use pauses to group the information, to group the ideas that you're sharing with other people so that it's easier for them to swallow and easier for them to understand. The third thing that pausing does, after synchronizing your thoughts and your words, and after showing kindness to your listeners, pausing will help your listeners open up to what you're saying to them. If you pause and pause well, it shows that you're in control. It shows that you're confident as a speaker. And when you do that, that helps your listeners relax and open their minds so that they really try to understand what you're going to tell them. Once your listeners are relaxed, you can even use pauses to intensify that desire to listen to you. Pauses create desire. They create a little suspense. Listeners want to know what you're going to say next when you pause. So pausing can be a very, very helpful tool to draw people into what you're going to say. Now you might be wondering, how long should a pause be? Pauses are usually between 0.15 seconds and 1.5 seconds. Those shorter pauses are going to be in between sentences, within your sentence. And the longer pauses will be between sentences. So whenever you get to a period, that's a place where you can use a longer type of pause. Or if you're thinking about a text with paragraphs, those longer pauses would be between those paragraphs. You can also use a pause either before or after something really important. If I want you to remember one thing about pauses, it's that they will increase your fluency. You see how I used that pause to create a little tension, a little suspense? Did you feel yourself lean in and listen a little harder during that pause? You can do the same thing if you master this technique of pausing. Now it's time to get practical. I want to teach you a super simple and fun technique that you can use to become a master at pausing. All you need is two things that you can tap together. I'm going to use these two highlighters right here. You can tap on a table, you can tap your foot on the floor, but the best thing is something that will actually make noise when you tap it. It's good to be able to hear your tap. And the way you use this tapping technique, I call it the double tap. The way you use the double tap is to just double tap every time you get to a place where you want to pause. Do you see how I'm using it? It's really simple. The reason why this technique is so powerful is because pauses are a little tricky. What I feel like is a long pause to me is not going to feel as long to my listeners. It won't feel as long to you. So this double tap technique helps us get used to feeling a longer pause. And then when I'm speaking, even if I'm not tapping, I'm pausing more. I'm pausing longer so I'm easier to understand. You can use this technique lots of different ways. I'm going to add some extra materials and examples and practice exercises below this video, so definitely check them out. But let me give you one idea right now of how to use the double tap technique. Find a few paragraphs. Ideally, the text should be something that was spoken. TED Talks are a great resource that you can use. Go to TED.com and you can choose any speech that was given on that website, click on the transcript button and print that out, or print out a few paragraphs. Then I want you to look at the text, and every time you see punctuation It could be a period. It could be a comma. It could be a colon or a dash. But every time you see a punctuation mark, highlight it. If you're using highlighters to tap, that's very convenient. So highlight the punctuation that you see in those paragraphs. Then practice reading it out loud. And every time you get to a comma or another punctuation mark, double tap and then keep going until you get to the next punctuation mark, and you can double tap there as well. Another thing that you can look for in the text is prepositions and prepositional phrases. Prepositions are words like to, on, in, under, before, those little words. And when you find them in your paragraph, usually right before the preposition is a great place to pause. You're going to want to pause before the preposition. Give this technique a try. Find a paragraph, print it out, start using your double tap technique, and you will be amazed at how easy pausing becomes and how powerful it can be in your spoken English. It will make you feel fearlessly fluent. I hope to hear you speaking and pausing soon. Until next time, bye!